first step is to dry brine this chicken. I've got 2 tablespoons of salt, and then we've got some baking powder. Now what this baking powder will do is help this chicken skin crisp up when we cook it. You want about a 3-to-1 ratio. So I've got 2 tablespoons of kosher salt. I'm going to add 2 teaspoons of the baking powder. And again, I've read, I haven't tried it, that if you use baking soda instead of the baking powder, you may get some off flavors. So we're just going to mix this up. Shouldn't take too much. Alright, and now what I've got here is a 4-pound chicken. I took it out of the bag, removed the insides, washed it off, dried it off. And all we're going to do is sprinkle some of this salt and baking powder all over this chicken, both sides. Now, if you're not too worried about how crispy it is, you can just use the salt. The salt is all you need to actually do a dry brine. Okay. Like I said, we're going to do both sides. Now, I'm going to flip it over and do the other side. Before I do that, I'm going to hit it up with this Everglades fish and chicken. Do you need to do this? No. I've got it here. It'll just offer just a little bit more flavor. And I'll probably hit it up just a little bit with this right before we put it in the cooker. You could sprinkle paprika if you wanted. You could, sprinkle some aromatics, whatever you want there. And now we're just going to do this side. And when I get this all salted up, seasoned up, I'll show you what we're going to do. Now, just got a regular baking pan, wire rack. We're going to sit that chicken on there, okay? And I'm going to place this in the refrigerator just like this overnight. You want to make sure that this can get air to it. That's why I put it on the rack, so it can get air underneath it, so that the baking powder can do its job. If you want, you could loosely tint it, with some plastic wrap, but I've got a spare refrigerator and plenty of room. I'm going to put this in the fridge just like this, and we'll pick it back up tomorrow. Inject this chicken for some extra moisture and flavor. What we've got here is a teaspoon of sage, a teaspoon of rosemary, teaspoon of ground ginger, teaspoon of ground garlic, half a teaspoon of red pepper, half a teaspoon of paprika, 1 stick of butter, and a half a cup of white wine. In this case, I'm using Mead or honey wine, but you can use just about any kind of white wine you have. So we're melting that stick of butter. And then we're going to pour in the wine. Then we're going to add those seasonings. We're just going to stir this up, let all these flavors blend in together. Bring it to just a simmer, and then keep it there for about 15 to 20 minutes. And then I'll show you how we're going to inject that chicken. It's been 15 minutes. I've got a small jar here, a strainer. If you recall, we put some rosemary and aromatics like that in there. We don't want to clog up this needle. So you want to make sure you strain the injection before you go applying it to this chicken. So as soon as I get this all strained out, we'll break out that chicken that we put in the refrigerator with the dry brine last night and get it injected. Okay, we've got that chicken from last night. You can see it's still got pretty good color from the seasoning. I don't know that it needs any more, but I'll use the same seasoning that we used last night. Just touch it up a little. We're gonna, as soon as that injection cools down, we're going to you know, give us some flavor with that. Now you could certainly stuff some aromatics in here, some lemons or something if you wanted. And then I'm also going to do one other thing today. In one of our videos, one of our subscribers said, hey, if you don't want these little wingtips to get dark while you're cooking this thing, you can wrap those wingtips in foil. So, you know, me personally, we throw this part away, but for presentation, it'll probably look better. So let's try this suggestion. Okay, and then before we get it injected, I'm just going to do one other thing. It's purely optional, but you know, we're going to cook this thing, this big easy oilless fryer. I've cooked quite a few chickens in there, and sometimes, you know, when you're taking the chicken out, these legs get hung in the basket. I mean, you can still get it out, no big deal. But I'm just going to tie these legs together, and then it'll just make it easier for me to manage while I've got this thing in the big easy. Like I said, you don't have to do this at all. Just makes it a little easier. Okay, we've got our marinade here we made. And then what I'm going to do is just kind of inject this guy at an angle. And usually I'll inject the breast. If I've got some left over, I'll inject the legs. But because it's dark meat, you know, you don't have to worry so much about it drying out. Okay, so you can see we had, this is, I think this is what, an 8-ounce jar, and we had about half of that after it had simmered and cooked down. And you can see it's just about right for this 4-pound chicken. Let's get this guy in the big easy. And you always want to put the breast side up in this guy. So, just like this is just wonderful. Two questions I get asked the most about this cooker is, you know, how open do I keep this propane valve? When I make a chicken, I keep it all the way open. The other thing is when to use this lid. Don't use the lid. Unless it's freezing outside, do not use the lid or you'll cause the outside of the chicken to cook quicker than the inside. The exception to that is if it's really, really windy and cold out. So, we're just going to get our chicken down in the cooker. It's been heating for about 10 minutes. And I'll check on it in about 40 minutes just to see what temperature it is. It's been right at an hour and 10 minutes. I actually got a little bit busy. Let's check the temperature on this guy. Now be careful, you don't want to burn yourself. This basket is super hot. 164.5, 165.2. Let's just let this chicken sit here for about 15 minutes. Don't get in a hurry to take this guy out of here. This basket is scorching hot. I can't tell you how many times I've touched my arm or whatever trying to get the chicken out. Let's just let it sit there a few minutes and cool down. See, it's been about 15 minutes. Ooh, tying those legs up made this easy. Alright, so the foil trick looks like it works pretty good. I apologize for the viewer that gave me this suggestion. I don't recall the viewer name. I'm sorry about that. And you can see I tore the leg off here getting it out. I guess things happen sometimes, right? Let's give this chicken a try. I don't know if you can see that. It's really moist. It's as juicy as it can be. I mean juicy. And you can see the crust turned out pretty good. I mean, it's not super crispy, but I guess you probably want to see that chicken breast. Let me eat more of this leg. This is really good. So we'll cut the chicken breast open and see what it looks like. So let's just get a little bit of this chicken breast so you can see what it looks like. Okay. There you go. Now, I'm telling you, it's really juicy. My fingers are getting all, you know, moist from the chicken. Falls apart pretty easily. You It is full of flavor from that injection. The skin on this guy tastes incredible. With that Everglades fish and chicken rub, I'm telling you, this is one easy way to make a chicken in this char-broil oilless fryer, and it turns out absolutely awesome. I mean awesome. Hey, thanks for watching another one of our episodes. If you haven't hit that subscribe button yet, I hope you will so you can see all future episodes. Have any questions, comments? Leave them below, please.